Welcome to another episode of Age of Geek. I don't have a good opening for this like I do our other show, Tracy. I haven't practiced it enough.
All right.
But I'm Jake. We've got Tracy. We've got Ty. Tracy from Movies That Make Us. Ty from Multiplane Podcast. We are excited to be talking about spooky season movies.
My favorite.
We're so excited.
So is this like an E.T. Shining mashup?
Shining. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
All right. Now, I was telling you this off air before we started recording, but that shirt would terrify my sister. She is terrified of E.T. in general.
And then you add the Shining to it, and it's a whole nother.
Yeah, like you don't even need to, but if you do, then it's just another level of terrifying for her. So, I guess as she has not seen The Shining. So,
come on.
Me and my dad like E.T.
Yeah, we do like E.T. I need you to go out though while I record. My son would like to make an appearance at some point on the show. He tried on our episode of Movies That Make Us that we just recorded. He is also now trying on this show. He got the microphone hooked up to the soundboard, but he's not figured out how to unmute it yet. So
way to go, Ben.
You don't know how.
I have to press that.
Okay, just don't push buttons. All right. You're pushing my buttons. All right. Last week on Age of Geek, the ladies from Cutscenes and Cupcakes talked about spooky video games, their favorite video game genre. So we are following it up this week by talking about spooky movies. And so, Jake, being me, I don't watch a lot of spooky movies. So I brought in a couple of experts to talk about scary movies that you guys enjoy this time of year or maybe any time of year. And so, Tracy, I know in the conversations we've had that you are way into a lot of scary movies. That's a genre that you enjoy. Ty, I know you're into that kind of stuff. You do makeup that is incredible.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, I got my degree in makeup. So
yeah.
Did you really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I have a culinary background as well, but starting off in the world as a young man, I got certified as a special effects makeup artist.
Okay, that is so cool. I did not know that about you.
Yeah. I have a little bit of stuff to add and contribute to this one.
Yeah. and I've seen you've posted pictures on your social media before of some of the makeup work that you've done, and it is incredible. It's phenomenal. So, which is not surprising. Ty's a man of many talents. So we're lucky to have him as part of the team. So guys, I want to set the mood for you. You've got your Halloween tree set and decorated in the corner. You have the severed feet hung on the mantle with care. Your favorite Halloween carols are playing in the background. For me, it's Oingo Boingo. Typically, I put on a little Dead Hands Party, that kind of thing. What movie are you getting ready to nestle down and terrify yourself with? What are some of the movies you guys really enjoy watching this time of year?
You know, it's interesting for me because I'm not a big horror guy, like especially when it comes to like body horror. Like I don't want to. I tried to watch part of the new Hellraiser, and I'm like, this just isn't my thing. I like monster movies. I like suspense. I like ghost stories quite a bit. But one of my favorites this time of year is Cabin in the Woods. That one is just so well done and so much fun. It really takes, for those that haven't seen it, it takes the horror genre and really twists it and turns it on its head. It kind of pokes fun at it at times. But it's a good little monster movie all on its own too.
That's a great pick.
So my number one, and again, things that really draw me in, especially if they have practical effects.
Yeah.
Trick or Treat has been my number one since it came out.
Okay.
And I love how now it has gained such a mass cult following that, like, so Trick or Treat, when it came out, I was the only person I had ever seen who had made a Sam costume. My brother was 10 years old, so he had the height down. I hand-stitched, made the perfect head. We bought orange pajamas. I recreated the entire character because that's what he wanted to be for Halloween. And it was something that, you know, if you were a Trick or Treat fan, you were like, there wasn't a lot of us.
Right.
It's definitely gained some footing in the last few years, so much now that we're probably getting a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
And I really love anthologies. So it's probably one of the best anthologies. And it's got a little bit of gore, but like you said, Tracy, it's got enough suspense that's built up with the interweaving stories that it's still probably my number one.
Yeah. Like Hostel, I can't do. That's too much for me. You know,
there's some that, yeah.
It just, some of the Saw movies, it just, when it's like gore and horror for horror's sake, I'm just not as much of a fan.
Gore galore.
Not a movie, but a TV series that came out last year that I loved was Midnight Mass on Netflix with Mike Flanagan.
You talked a lot about that one last year. I remember when it came out.
Was a great take on the vampire story. It's about this small town where a new priest comes into town, and turns out that it's a vampire, and it's just really spectacularly well done. I haven't checked out the Midnight Club yet. That's also Mike Flanagan. I've heard kind of lesser reviews. I haven't had a chance to check that out, but I like his work, so I'm interested.
Yeah. So between, Midnight Mass, which is vampire centric, and What We Do in the Shadows, which is also vampire centric, are you more of a vampire guy, Tracy? Is that kind of your jam when it comes to monster movies? I've always
been drawn to the vampire mythos, for sure. Like I remember in high school in my AP English, I wrote a paper on Nosferatu.
Mm-hmm.
And this was pre-streaming and download. So I had to go up to the University of Utah Marriott Library and watch it there.
Wow.
How do you feel about the reboot that we're going to get?
I'm interested. I think it's got Doug Jones in it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I love Doug Jones. I think he's
absolutely
amazing. So I don't know much about it other than that, but I'm excited to see it.
Yeah. Doug Jones is incredible. He does a great job in anything that he's in. You put him in makeup and
world.
Yeah, see, here we go. Tracy's dropping another name. This is the second episode tonight that we've recorded. Tracy's dropping a name again.
Only because I met him at FantasyCon.
Yeah.
I don't know him. I'm not friends with him on Facebook. Anything like that.
I have heard from tons of people that have met him at conventions and things like that. The same thing, that he's just a really nice, great guy and just super, super down to earth. And even people that run into him out in the wild.
I had a package of what they call lobby cards. They're like little postcards of different scenes from Pan's Labyrinth. And his handler was like, okay, pick one and he'll sign it. And he's like, no, I'll sign all of them. And the guy's like, well, you should charge for each one. He's like, no, I'll just sign them. It's no problem. And so he signed all 7 of them for no extra,
Yeah. Then you have other celebrities. I'm not going to make fun of people, but I'm going to for a minute. Then you have other celebrities that come and put a whole thing around them so you can't even see them without paying the entrance to see them.
And then when you get in there, I was so bummed when Patrick Stewart came. We went up to get an interview or an autograph for my sister, and he wasn't even making eye contact with people. He was just looking down and signing and pushing it to the next. Yeah. It's it's at least pretend like you're excited to be here. So
yeah, because I get that they're not sometimes, right? I mean, you're signing autograph after autograph.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get it, but
yeah, but the reason that you're there signing autographs is because of those people. So
yeah, exactly right. Yeah,
you have your status due to the fans that are there to see you. So,
well, and at next year's Fan X, those that come up to me and want me to sign something, I will do it for free and make eye contact the whole time.
Absolutely.
I'll do uncomfortable level eye contact. Ooh. Where it's just not even looking down to sign. That is my promise to you, fans, if you come up and see me at FanX.
It just says Jack and the rest of it's written on the table.
Can you have a pre-printed picture of you with nothing but a flamingo covering you? I feel like we could make some money off of that.
I don't think there's a photographer that we could pay enough money to that would take that picture.
I have Lightroom. We can do it.
No kink
shame. I'll reach out to Larry Curtis, see if he's down with that.
Ty, when you mentioned practical effects, I think one of the best scary movie horror films with practical effects has got to be The Thing. The original.
I knew you were going to say John Carpenter's The Thing because yes, it is.
Right?
Yeah.
It's so
nightmares.
It holds up so well. It's still freaky as all get out.
And that's one that seemed like in recent years, it's made a huge kind of comeback. People have talked a lot about that one.
Yeah, they made a prequel, which isn't bad. I can't remember her name. I think it's Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Anyway, it's not a bad prequel, but the original Kurt Russell is just great. And the thing that makes it so cool, Jake, is you have this alien creature who's crashed into the ice, and this expedition has found it and dug it up. And of course, they bring it inside the base because that's what you do. And it busts out, but it's able to like take DNA and recreate itself to be whatever it comes in contact with. So it would look exactly like Jake and would kill the real Jake and then mimic his body. And so you have this real paranoia with nobody knowing who you can trust, even down to the end of the movie. You're like,
it's a very clear way of seeing where Among Us pulled their idea from.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to alarm anyone, but who's to say that didn't already actually happen?
You could be Alien Jake and we would never know.
You would never know.
Well, no, we do know. You take some blood and then you take a soldering iron and get it really hot and put it in the blood. And if it reacts, then you have an alien. If it does just kind of hisses, then you're human.
Yeah.
So we're going to need a sample of your blood, Jake.
Like I'm going to give that up willingly.
I'll just bring a blowtorch.
Well, yeah. The thing about a blowtorch that's super effective is alien or not, at least it's taken care of.
This is
like
true.
The person on fire and just, alien or not, your bases are covered.
Speaking of aliens, speaking of flamethrowers, alien and alien.
We were going to go here next.
I'm nothing if not predictable. Come on.
Well, I knew there's no way that we're going to talk about scary movies with Tracy without talking about Alien and Aliens and the whole series, because I know it's one of your favorites. You've mentioned that multiple times.
Yeah. And the thing that's so cool is like they're so different from each other, and they're only really the two good Alien films. After that, Alien 3 is okay, and then they digress. Oh, big time. But the thing that's so cool with the first one, Jake, it's basically it's like a haunted house. It's this one alien inside this spaceship. There is no way for these people to leave. They are stuck in here with this thing, and it's find it and get rid of it, or we're all going to die.
Jake, have you never seen Alien?
I have not ever seen. Okay, Ty, you need to know this about me. There are very few scary movies that I've seen. My scary movie tolerance level is very, very low.
I think you can handle. I think you can handle the first two Aliens.
I have a very interesting, neat movie theater in town that you can rent out, balcony style, like old fashioned. You can rent it out. We're gonna have to get you over here and do like.
Hold on, what theater is this?
This sounds cool.
So, do you guys know what Strap Tank is?
I've heard of it.
So there's one at the point of the mountain, which is the secondary one, but the main one is here in Springville. And the guys built an entire industrial site with different shops and stuff. And there's a smaller movie theater in there that you can rent to do screenings and different things. Very Art Deco.
Okay. And I've talked about this.
I want to do some different showings there, but
this is not part of this episode, but offline, Ty, we need to talk about this because Tracy
for sure
has talked about wanting to do some more screenings. We did Sharknado, and we would like to do some more awful movies for great causes. Yeah. So let's talk after this.
Hey, there's movies and there's alcohol there, so I think you're a win-win.
Well,
Jake gets 50%.
That's a lose-lose for me. So,
well,
yeah,
kind of me too. But
you can have your soda.
Yeah. Did you guys ever see And this is one that's really interesting. Scary stories to tell in the dark.
Oh, I've heard of that one. I haven't watched it.
I've never seen it, but I remember those books from when I was a kid. Like, that's how you knew you were cool, if you borrowed that from the library.
But see, Jake, how old were you when you first picked up that book from the library? Were you in your teens?
Yeah.
See, I was still...
No, because I remember in elementary school picking it up. I think people were still talking about it in middle school, but I think it was probably 5th or 6th grade. So I would have been preteen.
So I'd first read them as a small kid too. And so when they announced they were making a film based on it, I'm like, no way. This stuff made me piss my pants as a kid reading it. Like,
didn't Guillermo del Toro produce it?
Yes, and it's just so well made. And of course, they couldn't involve every story from the 3 different, but they nailed in the first part of the movie. They nailed one of my first favorite stories was Howard, the Scarecrow. And he's even,
I remember seeing the ads. Yeah.
The main ad and poster and on the front of the, film itself, if you buy it. But scary stories to tell in the dark. Trick or Treat was my number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Scary Stories, another anthology kind of. It almost dethroned it.
Wow.
And it's the suspense that it builds up, and it's just so creepy. And so, man, like my wife won't even watch it with me again because, like I said, we'd both read the books as kids.
Yeah.
Right.
And the illustrations were disturbing.
Yeah.
Right.
So to see it come to screen was something that's like, hey, how are we going to pull this off? Are we going to be able to sit through this? Because if any of you guys have read those, the illustrations alone would put.
Well, I remember borrowing it from the library at school. It was like in the school library, like
Yep.
And bring it home, and my parents seeing it and kind of flipping through it, and like, what is this book that you brought home? Where did you get this? From the school library. It was fortunate that my parents weren't politically active because they probably would have worked on getting it banned at that point, but it didn't.
I'm getting on Twitter right now.
Yeah. Well, this was pre-Twitter, kids. So, that back in my day, the only thing you had to do to complain was write a letter to your senator,
Yes. Yeah. I'm curious, guys, is there a movie that you like freaked you out as a kid? Like, what was your first kind of scary movie as a kid?
So
you're going to laugh at me. Go ahead, Jake.
Well, okay. Then they'll laugh at me first, and then they'll laugh at you, Ty. But the one that really freaked me out, I remember being at a sleepover for some friends.
That's typically where this happens. Yeah.
Yes. And the movie that they put on was Witches. And that stupid thing when they took their hair off and everything, like, I'm telling you, you guys don't understand how low my tolerance for scary stuff is. That freaked me out to the point where I called my parents at like midnight or 1 o'clock and they had to come pick me up. So that is a movie that freaked me out when I was a kid.
All right. No shame.
Yeah, you guys are good. Wait, see, Ty, you've got nothing to worry about, my friend.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Still a good story. So here's my background too. My dad was pretty liberal in my options of what to watch as a kid.
Okay.
Like me and him would be watching Child's Play on Saturday morning.
Whoa.
Laughing at it like
wow. All right.
So I've got a wide range of stuff that I watched way too early. But the one that messed with me, and this is again really stupid, Critters.
Oh, okay.
And it's the same reoccurring nightmare that would happen. We had a 3-level home. In the bottom level, there was another smaller crawl space in there that, we had a playroom, and then the other side, we had all of our junk that we kept in there, storage. You would turn the lights off in there, and it was just utter darkness. And I would get this creepy feeling, and I would have this reoccurring nightmare that critters were living in my crawl space, and they'd come out at night, climb into my bed, and just start eating me. And
Ooh.
It's such a dumb one to like sit and be afraid of too. And me and my brother just had this conversation not too long because he was saying, he's like, what movie did you watch as a kid that like actually meant? I'm like, Critters. Critters messed me up.
Mine's The Changeling, and I first saw that with at a sleepover, and I don't remember much about it, but I remember the wheelchair and I remember the ball bouncing down the stairs, and it was at a sleepover, and I almost called my parents, Jake, and this was after we had gone to my first haunted house, so that
I can see how that messed you up.
Yeah, your
Isn't
stories
that
are
George C. Scott?
way better than mine because they at least involve actual horror movies. Witches isn't a scary movie. What was wrong with me as a child? Same thing that's wrong with me as an adult. I messed up.
The other one that got me was Something Wicked This Way Comes.
Thank you. I was going to mention that as one of my ones that I have to watch.
Yeah.
How is that a Disney movie, by the way?
Oh,
like,
I have no
honestly, it's terrifying.
It's because it's a Ray Bradbury piece.
I was shown this in school. One of the Halloween time at school, the teacher showed that one, and I was like, "What?"
Yeah, because when we were younger, all they looked at was, "Oh, this is a Disney movie, so it's fine to show in school.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's Disney and rated PG. It'll be fine." No, it's not fine.
This is one. So Something This Wicked This Way Comes. We've actually talked one time on Multiplane that was during a Halloween special. And it's one that we're naming like best villains. And Dr. Dark was one of my top villains from Disney.
Yeah.
This is one that I didn't get messed up on, but this is one that my dad... See, I have a very awesome history of my dad introducing me to really good pieces of... Well, sorry, in my opinion, memorable pieces of film.
Okay.
And this is one that Disney made that I'm like, how did this come from the Mickey Mouse organization?
Right.
But my dad sat me down with some popcorn. He's like, hey, check this out. It was October. So he's like, we're going to watch this. This scared the shit out of me as a kid. Sorry. Can we curse on this one? Am I allowed one?
So one.
PG-13.
We'll give you one on
Okay.
this one.
Well, it scared the crap.
PG-13.
Like, it scared the crap out of me as a kid. And so we sat down and watched it, and I was like, that is an interesting. Like, I want them to do a reboot of it since Disney's on, the reboot rampage here. I think if we did Something Wicked This Way Comes.
Is it on Disney Plus?
Well, I think that might be one of the few that isn't
No,
on
it's
Disney
not.
Plus.
I didn't think so. Okay. I'll have to see if I can hunt it down. It's been a while since I've seen it, but that one was really good.
And I don't want Disney Channel original version of it. I want...
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Which I'm beginning... Sometimes I worry that Disney Plus, like, original is kind of replacing Disney Channel original. It's a little bit higher quality. Some of the movies are not.
You haven't seen Hocus Pocus 2?
I have not seen Hocus Pocus 2. That is true.
That's probably not highest list of recommendations.
No.
One that freaked me out when I was a teenager was arachnophobia.
Yeah, that freaked everybody out. It's spiders.
No, my biggest fear, man, is spiders. 8-legged freaks.
Yes.
And it was the reboot one, the newest one. When I was a little kid. We were at a sleepover. We're watching it. My friends know I hate, I can't even express how bad I hate spiders. Next thing I know, someone's chucking a popcorn hand at me, and I lost my mind. Except I didn't have to call my parents because I lived 6 houses down. I just left.
Yeah, I remember seeing that I remember seeing that with a friend in the theater. My mom dropped me off at Sandy Movies 9, and we watched that, and we came out in the daylight, and I was like so freaked out, and I'm like, it's the middle of the day, and I'm like looking around, and I was afraid like spiders to start crawling out of the bathtub drain. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, you know why it's a freaky movie? Because spiders are not pretend. They are real.
Yeah. And big
it's not
spiders
a pretend
are not
creature.
pretend.
They're real. I don't like scary movies that are based on real things.
CGI. Yeah, those were real spiders. This was pre-CGI.
No, but I'm saying big spiders exist too. Like if you ever watch a top 20 biggest insect list in Oz, those things exist.
There's a reason why I don't live in Australia.
Australians watched Arachnophobia and they were like, that's just Tuesday, mate. Like, that's no problem. I do want to shout out to Sandy Movie Sign. That was the first movie theater that I worked in. I loved that place.
Oh, I didn't know you worked there.
Yeah.
I knew you worked at the theater. I didn't know it was that one.
Yeah, it was that one.
Yeah.
So
I remember before Sandy Movies 9, there was the Sandy Starship. And that was the ricketiest, oldest, most rundown theater, but it was great.
I love old theaters. Like when I say old, I don't mean old. I mean like 70s to 80s old, pre Cineplex, where you're sitting in like the pre-megaplex type. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I love a stadium seating theater. I love the Dolby surround sound, all of that. But there's just something cool about the sticky floors. You're crammed into these seats that are tiny. Like there's just so much nostalgia there for me. It was one of the few places that was really well air conditioned in the summertime. So you spent all summer in the movie theater.
Like the movie theater in The Last Action Hero.
Ooh, that's a deep cut.
So, but at Sandy Movie Sign, that was one of my other scary movie experiences. I think it was Scream 2, maybe Scream 3 that came out while I was there, and I got to watch it. And when I worked at the theater, we had actual films, and we had to it would come in multiple reels, and you'd have to put the reels together on a platter, and that's what made up the movie. So like a regular movie was like 6 reels long, and you'd splice them together. And then before you could start showing them on a Friday, you had to, by Thursday night, you had to run it through the projector after everybody had left and make sure that none of the reels were on backwards or upside down or out of order before you started showing it to people. Because otherwise they'd come in on Friday night, big new release, and it was like out of order or upside down, and it was just a mess. And so we had to screen all of them. And so if it was a big release like Scream was, then we would, like a bunch of us would stay after and watch it. But a movie theater can be a very scary place after you watch a movie like Scream, when it's empty, it's dark, and you've just had a giant soda and have to pee, and there's nobody else in the bathroom.
That is a bad combination.
It was terrifying for me.
If you could do one of the Scream films, you could do Aliens. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I have a very low tolerance for scary movies, and I don't do well with peer pressure. I give in very easily. So, other things that you should know about.
Jake, you'll be cool.
Yeah, exactly. So now I'm going to go watch Alien because you guys told me I was going to be cool. I want to be one of the cool kids.
That'll up your status.
I just didn't get offered a lot of drugs in high school. That was my my saving.
You want one that's going to be bone chilling, that has it's a good mesh of practical and CGI, that like it's the way it's supposed to be used. Crimson Peak.
Oh yes, absolutely. And I think it's so sad because I think it didn't do as well at the box office because everybody expected it to be like a horror film, and it was a gothic romance.
It still works as a spooky movie for me.
Oh, absolutely. Jake, it's another Guillermo del Toro film.
Okay, there's 2 things that Tracy loves when it comes to scary horror type movies: Alien and Aliens, and then anything Guillermo del Toro. Yeah.
That one's got
listen, Val's got Steven. Val's got Steven. Tracy's got Guillermo. I've got Tom, as in Cruz.
And then Val's on first name terms with Steven Spielberg.
Yep. Her good friend Steve.
They're best friends.
Best friends.
One that's got a little bit, and Tracy, if you've seen this one, I'm curious to know because you're not big on gore, but I think it just also is visually stunning to me. Like I love the way it's shot. Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah, that one's actually pretty good.
Okay, I've seen this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
I like
well,
it.
because it's a Tim Burton film.
It's Tim Burton.
So
I've got Tom and Tim.
Tim and Tom. Burton. Yeah.
Yeah. Tim, Tom. They get together with Danny. I'd be happy. Tim, Tom, Danny. That's my dream team. Dream team right there.
Because that's, we'll watch the Headless Horseman, the Disney one, but then
the animated one.
I'm like, yeah. But then after that, I'm always like, oh, you know what? We need to watch.
That one's fairly creepy too. The animated version, that's pretty creepy.
It is.
So Christopher Walken in the Tim Burton film.
Well, I like the Ichabod character in the Tim Burton film too, because he's more of a detective, and like there's more to his character than just the scaredy cat school master guy. Like,
who eats a lot.
Yeah.
Jake, I want to hear a few more from you, since you say you're not a big scary movie person.
Listen.
What's just something that's slightly spooky that draws you? So,
I like. So I'm not anti like monsters or things like that. So my jams typically around this time of year are going to be like Ghostbusters is one that I'll put on every year around this time. I love Ghostbusters. We are big fans of The Corpse Bride. That happened to come out while my wife and I were dating, and we held hands for the first time. So it has bigger meaning for us. We were just barely starting out. This wasn't like months and months of dating. But
a small kid watching that in a movie theater.
I forget how young Ty is.
I know. This is good for you, Tracy, because Ty comes on and he makes me feel old. And so now I know how you feel when I make the old man jokes. So, and then there's some really good kind of family centric ones that we watch each year. My favorite is probably Monster House, which I just think is so well done. The animation is really good. I love the story in it. I love the little fat kid, because that was me as a kid. And anyway, there's a lot that I really like about Monster House. And then anything Tim Burton, I feel like you can watch at Halloween time and it works really well.
Tim Burton's a year-round name at my house.
Well, sure. But like, if you want to get in that Halloween mood, like putting on,
it's a lifestyle, Jake.
What's that?
It's a lifestyle. Not once a year. It's a lifestyle.
All right. Ty may give me a run for my money. He may be. Tom may be his, or Tim may be his, and I'm just
let you two battle it out here.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen my yard yet?
No.
I don't even know where you live, Ty.
I typically post. I think I've posted it on Multiplane. Like, my house is a living,
I don't remember,
breathing embodiment of The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So I struggle with The Nightmare Before Christmas. I don't struggle with it. I love that movie. It's fantastic. Mm-hmm. But I struggle with it. Is it a Halloween movie or a Christmas movie? When do you start watching it? Okay, Ben.
It's like at Disneyland. It comes up in October and goes all the way through the holidays.
What did Ben have to say?
That it's both. He's yelling at me that it's both. I have begged him to go out of here so he's not scared by critters and thinking that they're going to come eat him in the night. But no, he will not leave.
He's all in. He's all in.
Yeah, he's going to be all in my bed later, and that's going to keep us all awake.
It's not a scary film, but Jake, if you haven't seen this would be great for your family. The Book of Life.
Yeah.
I've heard really good things about the Book of Life.
Great little movie.
So it's a DreamWorks or Illumination.
So I think it's Illuminations. But it's probably the best one that they've done, and it's all about the Day of the Dead and really clever.
I feel like it must have come out around the same time as Coco or something that caused it to fly really, really under the radar.
I think it was,
but Pixar was working on Coco long before the Book of Life.
I'm not saying that like Pixar ripped anybody off or anything like that. It just feels like there's something that happened that caused that one to go under the radar, but then people afterward are like, it's really good.
Let me Book of Life.
Something that I've wanted to talk about on Multiplane. This hasn't even come out yet, but They just published that Disney got the rights to it. And I'm really hoping they do this one justice. Have either of you read Neil Gaiman's The Graveyard Book?
I love that book.
That.
I love The Graveyard Book. It is so good. And if they can get that done right, Ty, it's going to be an amazing film.
I'm really, really hoping, and this is very wishful thinking, I'm really hoping they call Tim on this one.
Yeah.
Because we haven't had a good, marriage of Tim Burton and Disney since Frankenweenie, which is another excellent one to watch this time of year.
I feel like they should be able to get Tim, because nobody's been able to confirm this for me, but I don't know that I've ever seen Tim Burton and Neil Gaiman in the same room at the same time. I'm not trying to start a conspiracy, but
my hopes, I'm not saying it either.
My hopes were that Laika Studios, the ones that brought you Coraline, and Paranorman and all these other great stop motion movies, I was really hoping they would obtain the rights to it. But since Disney has it, I'm like, okay, I don't want this to be live action. Yeah. I feel that all the elements, the characters, everything that has to do with the Graveyard Book would be told in a really good, I think stop motion is probably my preferred medium for this.
Yeah. And if you can get Tim Burton involved and get something like Nightmare Before Christmas, like The Corpse Bride, in that vein, I think it could really do the story justice. I don't want to see Pixar to animate it, because I just don't feel like that's going to be the same aesthetic you need. Yeah. And I love Pixar, Tracy. I love Pixar.
Oh yeah, I'm right there with you. Yeah.
But I just don't feel like it'd be the right aesthetic.
No, totally. By the way, Book of Life was 2014. Coco was 2017.
Okay, something happened that buried Book of Life, and I don't know.
Kind of buried it, and it didn't get the love that it deserved. But that's a really good one.
Yeah,
like I said, I feel if they do the Graveyard Book, it'll become an instant seasonal classic for this time of year.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. I would love to see them do it well.
So Jake, if you ever, take, because you do an episode, or do you do a show where you guys talk about books?
We do. So every once in a while, once a month, Blake Lisman and I get on here and we have Blake and Jake hot book takes.
I love that title. I love that
title. This year we might have, this month, if you haven't done one, I think The Graveyard Book.
All right.
Would be a solid choice.
And I know somebody who would be a great guest on that show.
Of course you do. Who? James?
Ty.
Oh, Ty. Oh, okay. I thought you were meaning not in this group. Ty would be a great guest.
Doug Jones would be a great guest. You should.
Doug Jones. And you know who I could see Doug Jones playing? I could see Doug Jones, if they were to somewhat do a live action, which again, I hope they will. They don't. But if they do a live action, I want to see Doug Jones play Silas.
Yeah. But if they do it animated, I'd like Chris Pratt to do the voice, because he's apparently the hot voice actor to do all the voices now.
No. Not hating on Chris Pratt
I am either. I am so hating on Chris Pratt for that. He is not the right guy for that role. I'm sorry.
No, he's absolutely not. But he's also probably not the right guy for Mario, since you've got a voice actor that's been doing his voice for 30 plus years.
But, and I'm sorry, I've kind of got Chris Pratt fatigue.
It's none of my business.
Ty, I had the opportunity when Dr. Sleep came out. They actually had a special screening where they did The Shining and then went straight into Dr. Sleep. And that was a very cool. That was the first time that I saw Dr. Sleep, was immediately after seeing The Shining. And I'm like, The Shining on the big screen followed by Dr. Sleep, I'm in, because I really liked the Dr. Sleep book. I thought it was really underrated and good.
Speaking of The Shining,
I know of Dr. Sleep, and I know it's the continuation of that kid from The Shining, but man, it's been so long since I've seen The Shining too. One that I will never watch again, the original Exorcist.
Oh,
I've never seen that one. That one's way above my scary tolerance.
I have a friend who watched it for the first time, and she's like, even though it's been mocked and it's a trope now, that movie is still freaky. I'm like,
it'll mess with you, man. Like,
yeah.
Speaking of The Shining, though, Tracy, have you seen the new Cars Tales from the Road or whatever it's called?
Yes.
That's on
Cars
my
on
list.
the Road. Thank you. Ben is here to correct me on that one. There's an episode where they stay in a haunted hotel and they pull a lot of stuff from The Shining, like the carpet. They have like the twins. They have something
the dancing
written
ballroom.
like all.
There's been a lot of really like in each of the Toy Story movies, there's references to The Shining because one of the directors loved it. Yeah, same thing. And I saw an ad today, and I'm so bummed I can't really make this happen. But like the second week of November, Mike Flanagan and his wife, who stars in all of his pieces, are holding a special 2-night event at the hotel that they filmed The Shining in. And they'll be like,
I was going to ask you, have you ever been to the hotel, Tracy?
I have not. The Stanley Hotel, right?
He stays there every summer. It's romantic.
I've never been. I'd love to.
Have you guys ever done that? Done like the haunted tours of a city or like stayed at a haunted hotel, things like that?
So the one that I've seen, and actually I jumped in, not actually being a part of the tour, but we found them and we kind of just inserted ourselves into the group. We did a really cool one in San Diego. If you're ever in Old Town,
I believe it's called San Diego.
San Diego.
Sorry, couldn't resist.
Thanks, Ron Burgundy.
Old Town would be a cool tour.
But basically, yeah, there's a really neat old cemetery from, way back in the day. All the tombstones are excellent. But they go around and they give you a ghost tour of the different sites in Old Town. And I'm like, oh, man. So we jumped in, got some of the cool stuff from the graveyard, some of the other city sites while we were just there going to dinner. And it's definitely one that's worth a go.
I did one in Key West, which was my first ghost tour. And that was a lot of fun because there was all sorts of talk of pirates and swashbuckling. And at one point, Key West was the murder capital of the world. So she had a lot of really good stories. I did a ghost tour in New Orleans, which was a lot of fun.
Oh, that one would be cool.
That one was fun. And then I did a lesser one in Seattle. I think it kind of comes down to the storyteller, and the Key West and the New Orleans storytellers were top notch.
How did you ever watch The Skeleton Key?
I don't think so.
That's an old one it's not gory, it's more suspense. It's basically it takes place on an old plantation house.
Oh.
And
did they remake
stuff
that recently?
Going on? What's that?
Did they do a recent remake? That sounds really familiar.
Oh, the one I'm talking about, I think, came out in like 2003. I want to say I was a teenager when I watched it.
Yeah.
But anyways, spoiler alert, the big plot twist is at the end is that there were two kids. It was either one or two kids that were into voodoo, like old time voodoo, and they'd swap places with their white counterpart, like the kids that they took care of.
Oh, wow.
And it's just a big old, it's almost like an M. Night Shyamalan style brain twist, but like the Skeleton Key.
Yeah.
Yeah, Get Out was same kind of idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
M. Night Shyamalan is interesting. You brought his name into this. I know he's one of Tracy's all-time favorite directors. He loves everything he's ever done.
Del Toro.
Yeah. But like I remember Sixth Sense coming out. That was probably before you were born, Ty. But I remember how big a deal that was. Like it was
still a good movie.
Was like, it is a great movie.
99.
But everybody was like, you need to go see it because you'll never get the twist at the end and everything. I remember everybody talking about that. And that was one that I remember watching at home once it came out on DVD. Like we had we had one of the first Netflix accounts where all you got were DVDs. There was no streaming at that point. So we got it through that. But yeah, that was a fascinating movie to me. And I feel like the rest of his movies, because it became kind of the thing to like figure out what the twist was going to be.
Yeah.
He was kind of a one-trick pony that it was like, none of them ever clicked as well. You didn't get the same lightning in a bottle that you got with Sixth Sense.
Right. That was the right movie at the right time for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And it still is a great movie and it still holds up. I think for me, I watched it a couple of times after I watched it the first time, and it's like, okay, you can see the clues that lead up to the twist, and that's interesting and that's fun, but I don't know that I get the same enjoyment after I've seen it one time. Because once you get that reveal, I know I've talked to some people that figured out the first time they were watching it. I was not one of those people. So for me, it was just, I know, Tracy, but
it's like Fight Club.
We don't talk about Fight Club. That's the first rule. It's the first rule.
Oh, Skeleton Key came out in 2005.
Okay. I will check that out. I don't think I ever saw that one.
It sounds interesting. So you mentioned Get Out, Tracy, and I feel like that's kind of Jordan Peele seems to be establishing himself as kind of the king of horror right now with that and Us and Nope. It seems like he's really kind of coming into his own. I mean, what do you think? Is he kind of the it guy right now?
It's interesting. I think so, but I also, the thing that's so good about him and what he does, there's so much meaning in his movies. Like Us, Get Out is still my favorite out of the three. Us is probably my third favorite. It's really quite interesting. But there's like so much subtext to that movie. Like it's all about race relations, stuff like that. Nope is kind of just a straight up monster movie without giving too much away. It's kind of an alien monster movie. Ty, did you see Nope?
No, I did not.
It's a lot of fun. It's really good. But I think he's a better filmmaker than to be trapped in one genre. So I'm interested to see him do something else. And Nope is not quite the horror film, but like Get Out is more about like, it's all about race. It's all about, the experience of being a black man in white America. And I did not see that movie going the way that it did, especially at the end when the cop shows up. I was like, and I love that he subverted that, because we know, the cop shows up and you're expecting one thing and then you get something completely different.
Yeah.
But he's up there. I really like Ari Aster. He did Hereditary and Midsommar.
I know that's your favorite, Midsommar. Yeah. Tracy and I are going to go see Midsommar. He's going to sit me down. We're going to watch that together.
I went and saw it with two of my friends, and I have one friend that loved it and one friend that absolutely hated it because it freaked him out so bad.
So at Fan X, there was somebody dressed up in a bear suit from Midsommar, and I know nothing about this movie except that whatever that scene is terrifying, horrible, awful. Yeah. That's like, I don't know what makes it terrifying, horrible, and awful, but I just know like that much I know, right?
Did you see the girl in the big flower dress that was with him?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. That also is terrifying and awful. Yes.
So my son, Ben, saw the bear. And he's like, oh, Marin would love that bear, because Marin loves everything bears, because we call her Mare Bear. And I'm like, I don't want Marin going near that bear. I don't know what's going on with that bear, but we're not going near it.
Do you want to know what happens with the bear?
No. I mean, you can tell me later. I don't know what I want to know.
I do have to say, A24 made they actually made a bear in a cage, and then made a commercial about it and sold like a limited amount. The A24 marketing is genius.
Yeah,
they're Hereditary.
They're doing a great job with it right now. Yeah.
Yeah. I love the fact that they did Midsommar and they also did Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. Like, come on.
Well, they are establishing themselves as, look, if you have a creative story that you want to tell, to me, they're like the adult version of Pixar. Like, if you have a great story that you want to tell that's creative, that's different, and nobody else wants to pick it up, it's a good story, we'll take it. We'll make it. And I think that's really cool. So,
Ty, really quick, what do you think about the Blumhouse films?
The what?
The Blumhouse. The production company, they did like the newest Halloween. They've done a lot of horror movies.
Okay. Wow. Here's my deal. I was going to kind of bring up too real quick. It's hard for me to watch new modern horror because I don't think we'll ever get another decade like the 80s that gave us the most iconic, awesome horror films of all time. I mean, Hollywood just keeps regurgitating what came out of the 80s, right? So far with the new Halloweens, I've really liked everything they've done. But again, I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, we're just continuing something that's been there.
Right. Give me something fresh.
The thing, like I said, why I gravitated towards Trick or Treat so much was because they were able to pull out this monster movie and this different, you know, killer slasher. It had a little bit of everything, but it was original. So that's still why it's my number one. But for anyone listening, I'm not a big fan of a lot of modern horror, and because I'm more of a movie monster guy. So,
yeah.
But do you think Halloween is actually ending this time?
No, they'll create it to where like Mike's soul is so messed up that it can be, you know, switch personality, or it can be sucked up into someone else's persona and body that he gets to live on through that way. And
even Jamie Lee Curtis came out this week and said, "You never know."
Yeah.
And like, look at the. It's pretty much going to be like, look at the new Chucky series, which I highly recommend. The new Chucky series. It's like the Cult of Chucky. Okay, well, we can just do a big old cult, call upon the spirit of Mike Myers to embody someone, and then he dons the mask and he kills someone. Like, where are we going to go with it?
Okay, super quick before we wrap up, we did not talk about any Sam Raimi films. So Evil Dead, Army of Darkness, Evil Dead 2, even Ash versus the Evil Dead was a lot of fun.
Evil Dead 2.
Yeah. Evil Dead 2 is great. Jake, you might really like Army of Darkness because it's more silly. It's much more of a comedic one. And it really draws back on his love of Harryhausen. So there's like stop motion skeletons fighting and stuff like that. But Evil Dead 2 that's got to be right up there. That's in the top 5.
That's even like the Evil Dead remake was.
That was good.
Oh,
that one was
gosh.
That one was like hardcore. That went brutal.
Yeah. The razor scene.
Woo! Oh, that and the tree.
Yeah.
Well,
molesting trees, Jake.
Do you say molesting trees?
Yeah.
Well, on that note, that's probably a good place to stop it.
On that note, we'll see you guys in the movie.
Wasn't that a good alternative? Wasn't that an alternative rock band back in the early 90s?
Molesting trees? Probably.
I wouldn't know. I was too young.
The grunge movement?
The grunge movement. I don't know. There were so many different ones that and I feel like all of them had some secret meaning that I didn't know what they were. Like, I'm still convinced Weezer is probably something naughty that I probably shouldn't repeat.
Smashing Pumpkins.
Smashing Pumpkins. That was one of my favorites. Obviously, this time of year, you always think about Smashing Pumpkins.
Homer Simpson.
Yes.
Billy Corgan, Smashing Pumpkins. Homer Simpson, smiling politely. Oh, any of the Treehouse of Horrors.
That's what I was about to say, the Treehouse of Horrors.
Yeah.
And they're all on Disney Plus.
I really liked, so in that time frame, a lot of the sitcoms, a lot of the shows always did like Halloween themed stuff. Yeah. Simpsons did it probably better than anybody, and it holds up because they did these kind of fun, scary stories. But, I just remember that being every sitcom that you would watch would be like, oh, it's the Halloween week of Halloween. So they'd have some kind of Halloween special. And I feel like that doesn't happen as much anymore. And especially in the binging environment that we're in now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But It was one of the things that I actually really enjoyed about the first few seasons of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, because they always had the Halloween heist. But then as they got moved around on the schedule, they had to turn it into a heist in May or whatever. But I like that kind of stuff.
Community would often do a Halloween episode.
Yep. And maybe their movie.
We need to review that on Movies That Make Us. We got a community.
When does it come out? Has it come out?
They're still writing it. They just announced it so they could start getting everybody on board. But
you're ready to review it now and give it an A.
You won't last 2 seasons. 6 seasons in a movie. Yeah. Now I want Kick Puncher the movie. What Dr. Spacetime? I want that one. Yeah.
Well, this day and age, it could happen because that's what they do. Is they give the fans exactly what they ask for.
Exactly.
If you hire enough Twitter bots, then you can get whatever you want made.
Unless you want the right version of Hocus Pocus too.
I'm sorry, Ty.
No, had they stuck to the novel that they released and just made that the script, this movie would have been much better.
Did they release a novel before the movie?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
There's a Hocus Pocus sequel that came out a couple years ago that is excellent.
Interesting. Okay.
And I had said before it came out, okay, if they just go off the book and take that as their script, and it brings back all the original characters, this would have been a really good movie. But yeah. Another time I can sit and say how Hocus Pocus 2 sucks.
That sounds like a really great episode for Multiplane Podcast, which, by the way, you can find Ty on if you are not familiar with Multiplane Podcast. They talk about all things Disney,
Marvel,
and Marvel. Well,
Star Wars.
Anything that falls under the Disney umbrella. Marvel.
Right. I didn't want people to think it was just Disney movies.
I know, and you have to make that, because I am one of those people, by the way, that I don't consider like Black Widow a Disney princess. I get that she's a female in a property owned by Disney.
They own the Alien franchise, so the Xenomorph could be a Disney princess.
Well, now that they own Fox, Klinger could be a Disney princess from MASH. So,
the crossovers.
It's a slippery slope, folks. When we start going down that slope, it's a slippery slope. Where do you want it to stop? That's all I'm saying. You got to draw a line somewhere. All right. On that note, see, this isn't my main show, so I can say whatever I want, and nobody's here to supervise me, so I can say things like that. You can catch Tracy and myself on Movies That Make Us. We release new episodes usually on Monday. Sometimes we miss a couple because of traveling and things like that. Life happens. But if you like movies, we are a book club, but for movies. So you want to check that out. And then, of course, Age of Geek, you want to keep following here, because each week is going to be a brand new topic and a brand new episode, and you don't want to miss any of it if you are a nerd or geek.
You never know who's going to show up.
That's true. You never know who's going to show up. We could surprise you. Doug Jones could be on the next episode, for all I know. Tracy knows him. We're going to give him a call. We're going to see what we can get done. We'll see what we can get done. I don't have a cool, see you later phrase on this one. Yeah. So I guess just follow us on social media. We have a Discord channel. We'll put the link in our description so you can come join Discord if you'd like, or a Discord server. I don't know the difference. I'm too old. But check us out. It's supposed to be fun. And until then,
geek on, friends.
Make mine Marvel.
Geek on, Jake. Geek on, geek Tracy.
On. Yeah.
Geek on, Wayne.
It's Age of Geek party time. Excellent.
This has been an Age of Geek media production.